Hello everyone and welcome to today's tutorial where we will be discussing the basic functions of the Dwarf 2 telescope and how to use them. Let's not waste any time and let's get straight into it. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to discuss is the photo setting. So what we can do is we can actually take photos of both the telephoto lens and with the wide angle lens, but for this first part we're going to try to take photos with the telephoto lens. So first thing you want to do with that is we can usually just set the exposure time for auto, just for it to figure out exactly how good of an image. Like when it comes to brightness, honestly you don't want your image to be too bright or too dark because that can mess it up. So first thing you want to do is you want to go to the focus button and we want to press the autofocus. Usually when it comes to photography, the autofocus button is actually pretty accurate, but when it comes to astrophotography, it is not your best option. So if you don't really like how clear your image is also, you can just go ahead and press the plus and the minus button just until you get your image nice and precisely and clear. In order to take your photo, just go ahead and press the shutter button. Shoot success. Now the image is in our album. There is our image. So the next thing that we can do is we can go ahead and take it with the wide angle lens. Let's go ahead and switch it to that. And we can close this little window. And again, we are going to focus. As you can see, it focused quite decently. We're going to go ahead and set our exposure time to auto again, to make it a little bit brighter, and we're going to press the shoot button. Shoot success again, and it is now in our album. As you can see, our photo is now right here in our album. It's a pretty clear image given the fact that it was taken with a wide angle lens. So the next thing that we're going to discuss is actually video recording. Okay, so now we're going to discuss the video recording function. You just go ahead and switch it to the video setting. And we're just going to go ahead and use these little joysticks here to move our camera around to where we want it to go. So just go ahead and move it around until you find something that you would want to record. Again, it's basically the same setup. Just go ahead and autofocus if you want to use the wide angle lens, or if you want to use the telephoto lens, you can just switch back and forth. And once again, just go ahead and press the record button. It starts recording. You don't want to record anymore, just go ahead and stop it. Now, an important feature though that you actually can use when it comes to the video recording function is even with the normal photo setting, you can also use the tracking function. The tracking function is a very neat function, but it only works if you are using the telephoto lens. So as you can see, we actually are using the telephoto lens right now, so we're just going to go ahead and focus on this person right here, just as a little test on how the tracking actually works. So in order to track, what you want to do is you want to press the feature button and you want to click on the tracking button and find an object that you want to track. For example, these people right here. And once they are within the view of the telescope, all you do is you use one finger and you select them on the screen and it will automatically track them. The telescope will move left and right according to where they go in order to keep up with them on the screen. And if you want to record them, just go ahead and press the record button. Once you are done with the tracking, if you do not want to track anymore, just go ahead and press the tracking button again, and the tracking will stop. Once you're done recording your video, go ahead and press the stop button, and that is how you use the video and tracking feature. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at is actually the panorama feature. It is actually a pretty easy feature to use, but at the same time, it's slightly complicated. In order to use the panorama function, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and switch it to Pano mode, and you're going to open up the feature button, and you can focus the image if you need to, but if you don't, just go ahead and leave your focus as it is. Now, in order to actually do the panoramic, you want to set the amount of rows and the amount of columns it takes. So that's going to change how big your image is and how much of a resolution it has. Now for this video, we're just going to give an example. We don't want too much resolution to take up our space on our SD card just for this video, so we're going to go ahead and just set it and leave it as 3 and 3. Once it's set as 3 and 3, you can go ahead and click confirm, and you're just going to go ahead and switch to the wide angle button just so that you can see exactly where the telescope is going. And we're going to press the shoot button. it is going to close the image just like it does in Astro Mode. And it is going to reopen it where we want to take the image. And it's going to start shooting one by one, taking different pictures, and at the end of it, it's going to connect them all together, hopefully in our album. And we are actually going to be able to take the separate images that were taken for the panorama and put it on our computer for more processing on a program that Dwarflab has actually recommended for it. So as you can see, it already finished taking the panorama. If you set it for more rows and more columns, it's going to take a bit longer, but for this is how long it took. So if we want to see it, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We'll just go to the album button. And here's our panoramic image right here located. It is not wanting to load for us right now, so if we want later on, I can show you guys the finalized panoramic image that's processed on the computer. Just go ahead and leave a comment in the description. I will show it to you guys at the end just to give you an idea of how it works. So that is how the panoramic function works. That is all you have to do for that. And next, what we're going to do is we are going to look at the time-lapse function. Now, personally, I feel like the time-lapse function is probably the easiest thing for you to use. As we can see, we have the time-lapse set for the sun. All you have to do for this is just go ahead and focus your image. If you're going to take a picture of the sun, make sure you turn your exposure for both lenses to the bare minimum, as it can actually highly mess up your image. If you don't, it can mess up the camera lens if you don't set it to the smallest exposure time. So now after you go to your feature button, you want to set the interval. It's going to take a frame every 5 seconds. You're going to click confirm, and duration for the minutes, you want to make it do that for about, let's say, 10 minutes. And once you're done, you can go ahead and press the shoot button for it to start recording. Okay, for battery's sake, I decided to just go ahead and stop the video function. So we're just gonna go ahead and look at our time-lapse video here. Just go ahead and press the X button, go to our album, and there's our time-lapse video right there. As you can see, the sun is moving quite a fast speed, obviously, since it is taking 5 frames per second. And that is how the time-lapse function works. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to discuss before nightfall actually sets is the AstroDark function. In order for you to take your AstroDark features, in order for the Astro imaging to even work, you do need to take your AstroDark pictures. It is not really an option. So in order to do that, you just take your telescope and close it just like this, and do exactly what Dwarflab actually said to do in one of the tutorials. You just go ahead and take your bag and you put your telescope in upside down, just like that. You close it up so that the lens is completely in darkness, and once you are done, you just go ahead and press the start button, and that is actually going to go ahead and start taking your dark images. If you already have a dark frame library, it will restart it. I do not want to restart it because I actually have mine at a good temperature. However, if you don't already have your dark frames, it will start doing it automatically. I recommend that you take your dark frames at the same temperature that you're going to be shooting your Astro images, because the AstroDark frames actually have a lot to do with temperature and how well your images come out because of hot pixels. If the dark frames are not taken at the same temperature as your Astro image, then the hot pixels will be a lot more prominent, which is not something that you want in an Astro image. So that is all you have to do to take your AstroDark images. You just go ahead and press the shoot button, and it will take about 10 minutes to complete. Alright, after several hours of waiting for nightfall to come, we finally have the time to take the Dwarf 2 telescope out, along with the new tripod that I've been using lately in order to polar align the telescope, so that we can finally go over how to use the Astro Mode on the Dwarf 2 telescope. So let's go ahead and take it outside and go over that now. Okay, so now that we're outside, as you can see, we have the Dwarf 2 telescope set up on top of our tripod. What we're going to immediately want to do is we're going to turn the Dwarf 2 telescope on. So just press the little button, and the little green lights on the side should start flashing, and the little ring on the left side of the telescope should also turn on. Now that you have your telescope turned on, we're going to go ahead and press our connection button to get it connected and set up all nicely. We're going to hit Dwarf 2 in order to get it to connect. Hit join, and okay, it is now connected. We're not actually going to do the upgrade because this upgrade still has some bugs that we don't want installed in our telescope quite yet. So we're just going to avoid that. Go ahead and hit cancel. And we're going to do the first thing that I always recommend to do with this telescope. And that's why I so much recommend this tripod, because it allows you to actually polar align your Dwarf 2 telescope so that it doesn't get as much field rotation noise. So we're just going to go ahead and do the polar alignment right now. What we're going to do is we're going to take our telescope just like this, and we're going to find Polaris in the sky. And once you have Polaris pointed in the sky, you're just going to point your telescope downward so that the right side of the telescope is lined up with Polaris about roughly. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and take the telescope and point it up to a part of the sky that does not have any kind of clouds or trees or anything in the view. And after that, we're going to go ahead and switch to our Astro Mode. We're going to close the wide angle lens. And as you can see, our telescope might be a little bit out of focus. So here's what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to take our telescope and we're going to point it at a bright star that you can find in the sky. Let's go ahead and try to find one. And as you can see, I actually found one right here. And actually, yes, the telescope is already nice and focused. If yours isn't focused, what you're going to do is you're going to press the focus button. And you're just going to zoom in on that star. Once you're zoomed in on the star, you're going to press the plus and minus button. And mine is already nice and sharp, as you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and close that back up. I'm going to repoint the telescope into a part of the sky that, again, has no kind of trees or buildings or clouds. So once it's pointed up in the direction where there's nothing obstructing the view, we're going to go ahead and press the feature button, and we're going to click on the calibration button. And what that is going to do, as you can see, is going to close the telescope, and it is going to reopen it at a part of the sky where there's no sort of basically anything obstructing the view, as you already pointed it out the first time. And it's going to take 3 different pictures, and using those 3 different pictures in different parts of the sky, it is actually going to figure out exactly where the telescope is on the planet in order for it to be able to do the go-to function correctly. Okay, it is now calibrated. As you can see, the telescope is now tracking the sky, and it knows exactly where it is on the Earth, and it is actually tracking the rotation of the Earth. So it knows everything about that, which is great. It's exactly what we needed. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find the deep sky object that we were going to photograph tonight. And part of this tutorial I'm actually going to be using for the creation of the next tutorial regarding the processing the Ring Nebula. So let's just go ahead and we're going to press the feature button. We're going to go through some of the details on how to actually go to the targets. Now, the Dwarf 2 telescope on the actually has some targets already pre-registered into the application. That's several planets. There's all these different nebula. If you want, what you can do for this one is, since it's actually in the catalog, if you go to M57, the Ring Nebula, and once you have that selected, you just want to click the confirm button. And that is going to locate the object in the sky. As you can see, I actually have a lot of light pollution at the house, unfortunately. That's making a lot of noise in the image, which we do not want. But that's okay for now. So it's going to plate solve, and it's going to center on our object, right in the middle of our image. Okay, it is now going to tracking our image. So the Ring Nebula is actually centered right in the middle, which you cannot see, unfortunately, due to the light pollution. The light pollution we have here. But another way that you can actually go to find a target is you can go to auto, and we can switch it to manual mode. And if you look at the Stellarium app, and if you type in the name of the object you want to be focused on, you can actually look at the coordinates there on the app, and you can type them in manually. Just scroll down a little bit, and we can type in it's 1854 by 28.3. Confirm, we have 33, 03, and 19.9, but we're going to put 20. And again, we're going to click confirm, and that's again going to locate our object in the night sky. And this is going to work for pretty much any kind of night sky object that you have. Depending on how well your plate solving works, it may or may not be very accurate, but this should be pretty accurate for what we have this time. So we're just going to let it plate solve again, just like last time, and recenter on the object, and boom. Right there in the middle. But again, for this video, we're just going to use the catalog setting and just confirm it and click feature. Okay, directly in the center like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to push the settings button and we're going to start messing with our settings. Now, if you have a lot of light pollution, what you might want to do is you might want to turn the IR cut filter. But that can actually cut out a lot of the details on nebula and galaxies like that. So we're going to leave it on pass, and we're going to set our settings to 15 seconds because that is, for me, the best exposure time. If we have our telescope polar aligned. If you don't have it polar aligned, you might want to do less just to reduce the amount of field rotation noise. I pretty much usually leave the settings the same. It really doesn't affect that much, and honestly, you can mix up the telescope shooting ability and make it go completely white like that. So we're going to set our gain, and we're going to leave it at 80. And we're just going to close this button, and we are now going to go to feature. And what we're going to do in feature is we're going to click on more, and we're going to see our count here for this image. We're not going to take a lot of pictures, so I think I'm about to take 400. So after you have that, just click on confirm, and then go ahead and press the shoot button. Thank you everyone very much for watching. I hope this tutorial helped you guys to understand a little bit better, basically just the basics on how to use the photo, panoramic, time-lapse video, AstroDark, and Astro Mode of the Dwarf 2 telescope. In the near future, I hope to do a settings tutorial using the Dwarflab app, just to go over the settings and how to actually upload everything to the computer. So it's just an easier way to get everything done to help you guys all out, those who are having issues perhaps with the app or with the computer. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helped you guys out a little bit, and as always, I wish you clear skies.